Welcome back. Let's talk more about one of the fantastic events that's taking place this summer here in Utah that happens to be, well, a very close cousin of the great Burning Man Festival taking place later this summer. The Utah version, it's Element 11 with me tonight. It's Ranger Genius, Kari Larson, and Vivian Sanchez. Welcome, you guys. Welcome back. Vivian, nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So, since the last time you guys were here, continuing apace with preparations, talk about where things stand.
Well, there's been a whole flurry of activity. Our organization is powered almost entirely by volunteers, as we mentioned, and we've got volunteers who are building our center camp structures. We've had people out there surveying in order to lay out the cities and place the theme camps and the art projects. Some of our honorarium pieces have been posting regular progress updates. We've had work nights at least twice a week, every week since then. We're getting very close now, a little over a week until the festival starts. It's the 11th through the 14th, so everybody's kind of extremely excited to get started, and you can tell in the amount of activity that our volunteers are putting in.
So here's a question that you just prompted, and that is, how many cities that you're laying out at the
theme camps?
Villages?
I'm not exactly sure how many theme camps.
We have 20 theme camps this year.
20?
Yes, which is great.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Those would be camps that would offer some sort of interactivity, not just camps of people who are camping together, but actually are offering some sort of service or some sort of project or some sort of interactive aspect for the community to come by and partake of.
So you can really find the different things, maybe not just that you need, but also that you'd like to interact with, as you say, in the different camps. Very cool.
There's some theme camps that are doing things like pottery classes or painting classes, workshops, yoga, and then there's also theme camps that are more of sound camp based, and they're doing big parties every night and DJs and dancing. And so it's kind of like being in a city where you can just go club hopping, but you just go theme camp hopping instead. So it's great.
And I love the analogy that, and I have to imagine, not having been to Element 11, but I would have to imagine that at some point you just kind of shift over in your consciousness to, rather than saying, well, this is here and this is there, and you get that feeling, and then you just say, oh, well, let's have some dance, let's have something to drink or eat or see some art.
Yeah, that's the best thing about it. And you can look at the What, Where, When guide and see the schedule of events and all of that kind of thing. And for some people that works really well. They can plan their whole event and be like, I'm going to be at this event because I don't want to miss that. I don't want to miss this DJ and things like that. And then there's other people that look at the What, Where, When guide and say, oh, whatever, I'm just going to go experience it. And they wander around the festival and see what there is to see.
That's my MO. I look at the What, Where, When guide and then I go, I'm not going to see any of that stuff.
I just did a vacation with family, and there was those two paradigms in stark contrast to one another. I too am of the latter camp of, let's just walk around and see what happens.
Yeah.
I think that's a great thing about Element 11. Last year was the first year that I went, and there were so many things to do, so many people to meet, and interactivity was really just my favorite part about it. So this year, with all the art projects, we really wanted to make sure that interactivity was a big part of their characteristics.
And Vivian, talk about your involvement from a more formal perspective as far as art installations, that portion of the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. My background is to manage art projects, so I became involved with Element 11 through the art projects, and that's actually where I met Kari. And so we got involved with the art grant proposals, and we had a wonderful 30 proposals this year, and we have 13 that will be funded at Element 11. So my involvement is really just to kind of see the artworks that come alive at Element 11, and we're in charge of placing them and making sure that the artists know where to go and what they need, and make sure that their honorariums can help support, because we all know how expensive it is these days to create things, so we wanted to help out as much as we can.
And how is it that you go from 30 to 13? Is there a criteria or a selection process?
Yes. This year, Kari and I developed a really well thought out system, a point system, where we had about 9 or 10 people kind of vote on the different proposals. And based on scores, and we had sort of a top 10, and we all discussed them, and we had PowerPoint presentations, we had lots of emails going back and forth, and then we had a lot of community input. And then we had, at Pre-Compression was another event that we had, some of those artists had an additional opportunity to get some of their artwork funded. So a lot of the proposals also ended up at this additional event, so more community members can see what we were doing.
I see. And is the funding somewhat of an important part of the selection process, and whether or not the artist, like you say, participates in that or is kind of self-starting in that regard? We
really encourage that the artists try as creatively as they can to fund their artworks. We really wanted to make sure that Element 11 was something that supports art and not just completely funds it. So that's why we had certain criteria that they had to meet, so that we know that there's interactivity, there's an aesthetic involvement, there's how much can a participant interact with the piece. So there's a lot of different elements that kind of went into it.
Very cool.
And we would love to fund all 30 pieces, that were presented to us, but at this stage in the game, we don't have that in our budget, and so that's why we have to have that process to narrow it down.
Sure.
So.
But I think it really sort of ups the game for a lot of artists. It really gets them to think about, how well they want to present themselves and how much thought they want to put into a work of art. So we've really seen the bar raised this year from last year. It's been really exciting.
And I've always been fascinated by the sort of iterative creative process of how big can your imagination make something, but then also from a logistical standpoint, is your vision something that can come to fruition? Can that be done? Whether the constraint be money or simply, right,
time
just the...
Exactly.
Yeah.
It really forces the artist to think about the process from start to finish. And we have so many different artworks. The Elemental Portal is one of my favorites. How it's going to be set up, it's the temple effigy that Element 11 has every year. So this year, the design is based on Aztec and Mayan cultures, and it will be positioned so that every sunrise each morning will go right through the portal itself. So that's going to be one of the cool interactive pieces, because a lot of us, tend to stay up all hours of the night. So around sunrise, when it's about time to go to bed, you can spend some time at the temple.
Very cool. So what else for preparations, and what else should folks know as far as getting their tickets if they don't have them already?
Well, we're getting very close to the end of ticket sales, actually, in order to get all of the tickets sold and accounted for and all the funds into the bank to actually pay out to the artists and rent the porta potties, because it would be a very unpleasant event without them, etc. We're ending ticket sales on the 5th for pre-sales and in-person sales. That's the last day to buy the $90 tickets. After that, the only way to get a ticket will be at the gate for $150. And that will be until we sell out at our population cap of 1,200. So however many are left at that point is how many will be available at the gate. So probably, honestly, not very many. We're encouraging people who actually want to go and don't want to pay $150 to buy them in the next 3 days here. So.
Exactly, and I think it's a good reminder as we're getting ready to go into the 4th of July holiday that everybody will be otherwise directed, I'm assuming, on Thursday.
Yep.
So the next 48 hours, and then Friday. Is there a time deadline on Friday? Is it midnight or?
Yep, end of day.
Yep. So as long as it's on Friday, if it's 11:59 Friday, you'll still be fine. Although if it's not today, if it's not the 2nd, if it's the 3rd, 4th, or 5th, you'll have to pick it up at will call.
Very good. And website for pre-orders?
Is element11.org/tickets, right?
Yes.
Or you can just go to element11.org and click on the tickets link.
Very cool. So next weekend, 11th to the 14th,
Yep.
is the event. And tell folks the location for folks who may be considering it and doing the travel calculations.
The location is at the Bonneville Sea Base in Grantsville. It's the second Grantsville exit as you go west on 80 towards Wendover. If you're going that way anyway, Element 11, even if you pay $150 at the gate, it's definitely cheaper than a weekend in Wendover. And
It's so funny. I guarantee to say, 1, it's cheaper than Wendover. 2, it's closer than Wendover. And 3, you don't have to go to Wendover.
And 4, it's way better than a weekend in Wendover.
Absolutely. And for folks who may be interested in Burning Man as something to the next level, great opportunity to kind of dip your toes in the pool at Element 11. Not so far away, not so expensive, and not such a investment of time to get the
We've
feel.
kind of used it as a dry run for Burning Man for years, actually. For like, we're going to build this structure out at Burning Man, but it would be really catastrophic if we were 100 miles from anything and this thing failed. So it'd be best to set it up in a kind of similar environment and see if it's cool enough, see if it can withstand the wind, see if it can withstand the extreme weather. And so we've kind of used it as a proving ground, and I think a lot of people do for their projects or for their camp structures or just their interpersonal relationships even.
Right.
Or how fast you run out of food or water.
Exactly. Excellent. Well, Ranger Kari, Vivian, thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you again. Best wishes for a wonderful holiday, but of course, continued successful preparations. And for folks out there, check it out. Oh, do we have some tickets? Can we see some tickets?
Oh yeah, actually we have tickets. The artwork for the tickets was community sourced. So a member of our community
Very cool.
helped to make this.
I'm gonna grab this for the close-up. Very cool.
So there are also listed on our website, if you don't want to pay for it online, there are also in-person ticket sale venues. Again, if you go to the tickets link, the address and phone number of the members of our community who are selling the tickets in person are on there as well.
Excellent. Thank you for being here, guys.
Thank
See
you so
soon.
much.
Thanks.
Element11.org. Go for more information. To get your tickets, get them by Friday night. 11:59 is your last moment. Otherwise, the cost goes up. We'll be right back with more after this.